Hey YouTube, it's Casual Brews here with my Week 11 NFL recap, review, and picks results. Huge week for me. Really needed it in the worst way after a terrible, terrible last 2 weeks, really. Especially last week, I was dreadful. This week I went 21-9, which is great. I think it's like basically a reversal of my results from last week, so needed it. I went 9-6 against the spread and a remarkable 12-3 on the point spreads on the over-unders. So yeah, it continues that theme of the last few weeks where I've been much better on the over-unders. I'm just seem to be all over the kind of general flow of the game, how it's going to go with the scoring and all that. So yeah, that's good. Yeah, so we'll get right into it. I already kind of touched on this game in my picks because I made my picks on the Friday. Thursday night football, Atlanta, New England. Atlanta got killed 25-0 by the Patriots. Patriots, man, they're on a roll. Now leading that division. I said it as early as, I think, week 4 or 5. I like the Patriots, what they're doing. They can get on a roll here. They got a good balanced team. Mac Jones is playing really well, but they don't need him to be the hero. They can run the ball well, play good defense. They got all the right pieces in place. They are a team that's, obviously coaching and history wise, it's a no-brainer that they could make a run, but just the way their team's kind of made up, and it always helps to have a quarterback on a rookie deal playing well. You saw it with the Seahawks, and Russell Wilson could do it because he can spend a lot of money everywhere else. And yeah, they're looking really good. They're rolling. Atlanta was kind of in this game a little bit. I had Atlanta plus 6.5, obviously lost, but they were in that game. They were only down 13. They were down 13-0 and had the ball driving, I think, to go maybe 13-7, still hang in there in the point spread, and then interceptions happened and the game just kind of got away from them in the fourth quarter. But yeah, I did have the under 47 in this one, so that hit for me. A lot of unders this week. I picked a lot of unders, and again, it was another week. I think it's like 10 out of 11 weeks I saw where the total amount, if you combine all the point spreads together, or the point totals together, it's gone under. So yeah, it's interesting development. We'll see if that leads to the odds makers maybe setting the spreads a little low next week, and then maybe the overs start going. So we'll see. Next up, Washington, Carolina. Washington wins 27-21. Kind of a close game, nip and tuck throughout. Two kind of middle of the pack teams, I think, at this point. Two kind of feisty defenses. Carolina is obviously a little better defensively, but Washington is on a little bit of a roll here these last two games. If it weren't for their really poor start to the season, they'd be kind of maybe right nip and tuck in that division. But kind of their slow start hurt them. I think they're now 4-6, I want to say. So still got a long, it'd be an uphill battle, but they look good right now. They're playing, again, their defense has come around to kind of how we thought it would be going into the season, based off last year, where their defense was incredible. And they're finding ways to score. They're running the ball really well. I think they ran like almost 200 yards or something against Carolina. That's obviously the formula against Carolina's pass defense is pretty good. So if you can run the ball against them, that'll lead to success. And yeah, Heineke's doing all right now. He's limiting the mistakes a little bit more, which was kind of his Achilles heel. And yeah, they look good. Panthers were kind of in this game, and then Washington just kind of bullied them. So I lost that. I had Carolina -3. But again, I won the over 43 in this one. I thought Washington's defense still was a little suspect, even off of a good performance against Tampa Bay. And I just thought with Cam, they'd be a little juiced on offense, score enough points to get the over, a low 43. So that hit at least. Next up, we have San Francisco 30, Jacksonville 10. I took San Francisco -6 here. I hate betting on the 49ers, but just after their performance against the Rams, I just felt like an easy pick, -6 against one of the worst, if not the worst team right now in the NFL. And yeah, this game was never really close. San Francisco rather went on like a 13-minute drive to start the game and kicked a field goal from the 1-yard line, which I think if any other team besides Jaguars, you probably would go for it there on 4th and 1 from the 1, I think it was, but the Jaguars stink on offense. It's a little early to judge Lawrence, but he doesn't look great. But it's just a bad team all around, really, especially on offense. They can do some things defensively, it seems like at times, but yeah, they stink. The Seahawks hammered them. That's all you need to know. And yeah, I got under 45 in this one. I missed for some reason. I checked that as incorrect for some reason when I did my tallies. Under 45. Yeah, I had under 45. Okay, so correction, actually went 13 and 2. And my over-under is even better. For some reason, I checked that as a wrong when I did have the under 45. So my bad. I must have been able to tally 30 plus 10 properly. So anyway, yeah, I had the under 45, so that hit there. So that makes me 22 and 8 overall. That's pretty good. Yeah, so next up we got New Orleans at Philadelphia in a shootout. The Eagles won 40-29. This is my only one that I lost both on the day. I just thought New Orleans defense was still kind of feisty. They would make things tough on the Eagles, but the Eagles look for real, man. And maybe not for real, but they're running the ball really well. That seems to be their formula. Whenever you can run the ball, it makes things easier on your quarterback, especially if your quarterback can run, which Hurts sure as hell can run, as he did in this game too. So yeah, and this game wasn't even really as close as the score. I think New Orleans kind of tried to make it respectable late. But yeah, Eagles in a blowout again. They've had a couple, 2 or 3 blowouts in this season so far. So I was wrong about them, and I was wrong about under 43. So upon correction, that's only my second over-under that I was wrong on this football weekend. Yeah, Eagles, I don't know. The Saints, yeah, surprising. They got ran all over. Maybe their defense isn't quite as good as I thought. We'll have to see how the rest of the year goes. They're kind of on, they got a game against the Bills on Thanksgiving. It's kind of a game where if they lose, it's probably a little too late for them for their season. They're not getting good quarterback play. That's a big deal. Yeah, the Saints kind of been tough here. Yeah, next Miami, New York Jets. Miami wins 24-17. I had Miami minus 3.5 in this one. I just thought the Jets, they have a couple blip in the radar wins, but they're overall a pretty bad team. Definitely bad defensively, and then offense with Flacco, I just thought it would be a struggle for them to score too. So both those things into consideration, I thought Miami minus 3.5 was pretty easy. It won, and also under 44.5 won. I just thought these two teams in the division, even though the Jets had a bad defense, so I didn't really feel great about this pick, I still thought it would kind of just naturally be a low-scoring game, as a lot of games between two bad teams tend to be. So took the under 44.5, that hit. And then next up we had Houston 22, Tennessee 13. And the shocker of the day, you could say, but at the same time not, because Tennessee coming off a gauntlet of a schedule where they beat like 5 playoff teams in a row. And then you get the Texans at home, easy letdown spot. I thought they would still win, but I was looking at them to win like a low-scoring, kind of grinded out type of game, and it was that, but the reverse. Final score 22 Texans, 13 Titans was kind of a score I thought the Titans would win by, so I took Houston plus 10. They won outright. I was like toying with the idea of taking them to win outright too. I wish I did, but obviously I'm not going to lie and say that I did. So yeah, they won covering the spread anyway. And I thought under 44.5 was the pick here too. Tennessee's offense kind of struggling a bit. They looked really good their first game against the Rams as a team, but look at how that game kind of unfolded. You look at each drive by drive and this and that, like they put up quite a bit of points, but they had a pick 6 in that game, plus what was effectively another pick 6 getting the ball at like the 5-yard line or whatever. Outside of those 14 points that were generated by their defense, their offense, even in that game, didn't do much. And they haven't really done a lot since losing Derrick Henry, which anyone really could have figured, right? Adrian Peterson, it's not quite the same as he obviously once was. We've known that before he came to the Titans. Offensively, they're a little struggled. I mean, I don't know. We'll see if Henry can come back this year, at least for the playoffs, but yeah, their offense has kind of hit a wall here. So Houston caught them, and we'll see what happens the rest of their way. Yeah, so I took under 44.5. It seemed like a no-brainer. Houston's offense is pretty bad. Tennessee's I didn't think was going to be very great either. So that was another winner. Next up, Cleveland 13, Detroit 10. Yeah, Browns lucky to squeak this one out against just an awful, awful, awful quarterback and something Tim Boyle. I don't know how this guy managed to land himself on an NFL roster when he literally threw more interceptions than touchdowns, albeit on a really bad college football team at UConn. I mean, it's got to feel like a loss if you're a Browns fan, honestly. I mean, yeah, Detroit, they're fighting. They've had a couple really bad stinkers, but they're scratching and clawing for a win, man. They might get it against the Bears on Thanksgiving, honestly. But yeah, so I took Detroit plus 11.5. Just eye test. I hadn't seen enough from the Browns to think they would cover 11.5 against anyone, let alone the Lions. I mean, I know they caught Cincinnati on a bad day and blew them out, but I thought that was more about Cincinnati kind of not being ready to play, and they bounced back, thankfully for them. But yeah, just the Browns, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't think they could cover that, and I was right, thankfully. And under 43.5, I won on that one too. Detroit's offense struggles, especially I knew that as they knew they would with that quarterback. And I didn't think Cleveland was going to be able to score enough on their end to bring it over. So it seemed like another easy pick. And then next one, another shock to some, but not really to me. Colts 41, Bills 15. Yeah, I just didn't see enough from the Bills. They've looked like they're a little bit lost on offense lately. And their defense has kind of been shaky all year. They've had a couple standout performances, like when they shut out the Dolphins, right? And they look good at times, but also look really bad at times, especially lost to Tennessee. So yeah, I just thought this was the game the Colts could at least keep close. I really like them outright. Again, wish I would have maybe picked it, but I just thought keep it simple, bet the spreads. And yeah, they won handily, ran all over the Bills defense. If anything is a strength for the Bills, it's their secondary. They got one of the best corners, Tre'Davious White, good safety duo, Poyer. They rely on getting turnovers, and when they're not getting turnovers, they're not so great defensively. So yeah, Colts ran all over them. Carson Wentz barely threw for 100 yards, and it didn't matter because that wasn't the formula. So yeah, Colts are legit. I've kind of thought they were a good team all year. They've just kind of had a couple, more than a couple, just tough losses. Look at the overtime game. Carson Wentz threw the picks and this and that. But if they can keep this running prevalent formula going, their defense plays pretty well. It's kind of like bend but don't break. It's not the greatest unit. They got good linebackers, good up front. Little suspect in the secondary, but they're going to be a problem in the AFC, I feel like. So obviously I won taking the Colts 7.5 plus 7.5, and I picked the over 49.5 in that one as well. I just thought these two teams, neither has an outstanding defense. I just thought it would be a shootout. Wasn't necessarily from Buffalo's end, but the Colts put up 41 points, and that was all that they needed. So one double there, so that's now 4 straight double wins on spread and point total. So next up, one that I didn't quite get right, Vikings 34, Packers 31. Close game, nip and tuck. You could argue Green Bay should have won this game. Kirk Cousins threw what should have been a game-losing interception, and Darnell Savage just couldn't hang on to it. Kind of looked like it was really nitpicky, honestly. I feel like that call goes both ways sometimes. I don't know. Use the ground to help him catch it. I don't know. It's been a lot of those this year. There was one even in the Seahawks game, I think. I kind of blacked out that game now from my mind, but there's been the catch rule, especially when it affects interceptions too. It's just so, I don't know. I didn't really see enough there to overturn that, but especially because it was called on the field as an interception, right? So brutal, 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 brutal. So obviously got overturned, not an interception. Vikings going to win the game. Tough break there. I at least had the over 47.5. It seemed like a lot of people, consensus was this was an under game. I just thought these two teams, I just had a feeling that it was going to be a high-scoring game, and it was. I mean, Green Bay's defense has been playing really well. I just think these two teams get together, they want to throw the ball around. Minnesota's defense is not that great. I just thought it would squeak over, and it did comfortably. Next up, so I took Green Bay, lost, but I had the over. Next up, Baltimore 16, Chicago 13. I did not realize Lamar Jackson wasn't going to be playing. He was I think on the same day of the game, ruled out. So that sucked because I had Baltimore minus 4.5. Still won by 3, so I was close there. The backup Huntley playing, who played okay. I mean, well, not great, but he led them on the winning drive. So good for him. I at least had the under 44.5 in this game. I just figured if, thinking Lamar Jackson was playing, Ravens like to run long 8, 9, 10-minute drives. Chicago kind of struggles offensively. I figured that would continue in this game, as it did. So again, had the under 44.5. That cleared easily. Just seeing all these point totals so clearly, I hope it could continue. But knowing the way gambling works, sometimes I'll go, I don't know. I don't want to spook myself. So yeah, next game, Kansas City 19, Dallas 9. A lot of people seem like they were on Dallas here. I don't know. I just thought from what I saw from Kansas City, really on both sides of the ball, that they'd kind of found something a little bit. Their offense was still a little shaky at times in this game, but they did enough. Yeah, they're taking what the defense gives them now. The defense is not allowing Mahomes to do the explosive plays down the field, just like they're not allowing the Seahawks to do. So he's kind of compromising, and he's learning how to do so, and he's finding himself bit by bit here. Against a pretty good Dallas defense, did just enough to win the game. I had the Chiefs minus 2.5 that obviously won, and preposterously high point total, 56. I went under. I just thought, again, Kansas City was figuring things out on defense. Dallas' defense is still pretty good. People see these two teams and think shootout. That may have been true last year or the year before, but these two teams just didn't see it. Didn't see it happening, and I was, again, way right in this one. So, yeah, Chiefs and the under hit convincingly. Next up, we had Arizona 23, Seattle Seahawks 13. First time all year I've picked Seattle against the spread, which, I mean, even in their losses against the Saints, against the Steelers, they covered both games at least. The Seahawks did. And I just had to pick Arizona in this one based off of what I saw. I actually thought Kyler Murray was going to play when I made the pick. And even if he didn't play, I'm like, I don't know. Seahawks just offensively look like shit. And sadly, for myself as a Seahawks fan, I was proven right. They won convincingly. They gave Seattle effectively 7 points, or surrendered 7 points. They missed 2 field goals and an extra point, and they still won by 10. That's just disgusting if you're a Seahawks fan. And then under 48, it just seemed like a no-brainer. Seahawks can do nothing on offense right now. Arizona, I felt like even with Kyler back, they'd be a little bit limited offensively. I knew Hopkins wasn't going to play. It seemed like a no-brainer. There was just so many easy point total picks. And I'm not even the sharpest mind in the world. I was terrible the last 2 weeks. But these just point totals seem so easy. These two teams together, did the odds makers not watch the Green Bay game? They're betting on they're putting the point total as if it's the Russell Wilson from the first half of last year. No, he's not the same. Not even close. It seemed like a no-brainer. I don't like to bet a lot of money because I don't really have a huge disposable income to be betting a lot of money on these games. But if I did, I would have put so much money on that under. So much money on that under. It was the easiest pick of the day. I didn't make a lock of the week, but if I did, that would have been it. It seemed beyond easy. So under 48 there. Ridiculous. Next up, the Sunday night game, Chargers 41, Steelers 37. Figured this was a good spot for the Chargers to kind of get back on track. They kind of sputtered lately. They really needed this win to keep pace with the Chiefs, who are now finding their way. And it looked like that was the case. They were dominating most of the game, up by double digits, and I thought that 5.5 would hit easily. I was a little concerned about the over. I had the over 47, but I thought at least the Chargers would clear 5.5, which I had, minus 5.5. And Pittsburgh just came storming back on the back of a couple special teams block punt and an interception, a fluky interception, really. Yeah, so I unfortunately lost the Chargers cover, but all the chaos that happened in the fourth quarter got my over 47, which I didn't think was going to hit at halftime. So there you go. Pittsburgh looked dead in the water offensively. They kind of figured it out. I don't know what to make about the Steelers. I really don't know. They look really good at the end of this game and really bad at times. Like that last drive was miserable. I mean, they'd been protecting Big Ben pretty well all game, and then the dam just broke on that last drive, and Bosa and everyone just came right through the offensive line untouched. So I don't know. Steelers are still really hot and cold. But they're a team that can keep games close, so I don't know what the spread's going to be like for their next couple games, but they look like a team who's going to win or lose a close game, so I don't know. Chargers, kind of who I thought they were. They got their offense going like I thought they would, but defensively, they're still really bad. Really bad. If Joey Bosa was on a team with like a half-decent pass rusher on his line, he could do big things, but he's like the only guy who can get any kind of pressure up front. And their linebackers, my God, very bad. Their secondary is pretty bad too. Just a bad defense overall, and that's, I don't know. I don't still think Justin Herbert played incredible, but I don't know. You can't win in the playoffs just outscoring teams every game. You're going to have off games on offense. You need a consistently good defense to win in the playoffs. And they don't even have close to that. So this game didn't really convince me much about the Chargers' chances down the stretch. Yeah, just their defense is just so bad. Lastly, the Monday Nighter. Tampa Bay 30, Giants 10. I feel like everyone was on the Giants here. I just thought this was the real stick it to them game for Brady and the Bucs. They had a couple losses lately. Just thought this was a game they'd get right back. I mean, the Giants have had some nice covers. They've covered some big spreads this year. They went outright against the Saints early in the year when they were like 8 or 9 point underdogs. They covered that game against the Chiefs. Big spread in that one. I just thought you couldn't quite get I just thought 3 times would be kind of unlikely. Just seemed like a good spot for the Bucs to flex their muscles and get right, which they did. Really, this game was never close. It was tied at halftime, but you didn't really get the feeling. Kind of a fluky interception was really what got the Giants kind of back in the game a little bit. But you watch the Bucs on offense; they were just clinical, short passes, everything you want the Seahawks to do, or the Chiefs, which they're kind of starting to do. Teams taking away the deep ball, which I don't know why you're taking away the deep ball per se against Brady. That's not really his strength. He thrives on these short middle passes, so I don't know. So I don't know what the Giants defense is really doing, honestly, but they were moving the ball at will, and so they covered easily 30 to 10. They covered the 11.5 point spread that I had them on. I did lose the over 49.5. Kind of a dumb bet in hindsight because I didn't really think the Giants would score much, but I thought they could at least kind of keep it close for a bit of the game, and then I thought the Bucs would kind of just pull away late. But if Brady would have stayed the game, they probably would have. But obviously, the game was out of hand. They put in Gabbert. I lost the over 49.5. Kind of a dumb pick in hindsight, but what can you do? So pretty good week overall. 22-8 on the week with that mathematical error I had on the under 45 in the San Francisco game. But so good week overall. Really needed it off my last 2 miserable weeks I had. See if I can keep the ball rolling here. We'll see if the odds makers kind of try to adjust the point totals, because like I said, this is, I don't know, I read a stat where it's like 10 of 11 weeks has been overall under the combined point total from all the games. So we'll see if they compensate. We'll see if I see like some more like 41-point game spreads and that, and yeah, see if I can keep the ball rolling here. And here's to another, good last few weeks of the season for everyone but Seahawks fans.